Ladies and gents, boys and girls, please show your love for Bruno and the backroom staff. Okay, here come the players, starting with Benoit Shield, followed by Mateo Kovacic, and he's back in N'Golo Kanté, followed by Havertz and Reece James. Here comes Mason Mount. Doing things next, folks. Please welcome Christian Pulisic. Followed by Ben Chilwell and Raheem Sterling. Here comes Enzo Fernandez. Followed by Kepa. Here comes Slonina. Followed by Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Welcome back, Wesley Fofana. Followed by Noni Madueke and Kani Chukwuemeka. Mikhailo Mudryk. Conor Gallagher. Kalidou Koulibaly. Followed by Joao Felix. Welcome back, Edouard Mendy and Marc Cucurella. Okay, just in a quick head count, see who we're missing. Here comes your skipper, Cesar Azpilicueta. Followed by the Chelsea legend himself, Carlo Pulisic. Okay, folks, that is the Chelsea squad now safely off the bus. Thank you very much indeed. And as you can see, we are now joined by the Liverpool team.
Hello and welcome to Matchday Live. Chelsea versus Liverpool tonight in the Premier League, live at Stamford Bridge. I'm beside the brilliant Savage Dan. Dan, we need to have a chat. A week is a long time in football. A couple of days is a long time in football. It's a couple of long days for this football club, but also a position that we're in. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the show, of course, but this football club is unlike any other. It's a beast that can function when other clubs crumble, and it's very much business as usual tonight, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like the Chelsea multiverse, you know, and just time moves different here. Somehow we do manage to control it, and we are on top of it, and sometimes these chaotic changes are for the best for us. We usually find a way to navigate our way through it. We usually have a manager bounce, and whenever things are not going our way, we usually find a way to swing it back in our way pretty quickly.
Well, let's talk about that, because obviously there's still quite a lot to play for this season, and we talk about that in the terms of Champions League game, home and away against Real Madrid is massive, of course it is, but still some really big Premier League games to play. You know, we've still got to play Man United. That one's not been rearranged just yet because of their FA Cup involvement. We've still got to play teams around us as well. Brentford we've got to play in a few weeks here at Stamford Bridge. We've still got Newcastle at home to welcome a little bit later on in the season, so there's still some massive games, and obviously tonight being the first of those. When you talk about the season as a whole, how different it can look ahead of tonight as it could in 6 to 8 weeks, because again, this is a football club that you can never write off.
Yeah, of course, and I think a lot of it is about momentum. I think we've struggled all season long to maybe get those points on the board consistently, and because of it we haven't really been able to climb and make any moves really towards that top four. All could change pretty quickly. You know, 3 or 4 wins on the bounce in the league, and all of a sudden you're having a look at what's above you and really thinking that you can catch them. But if this stop-start as it's been, then, you know, we unfortunately end up kind of floating around the mid-table. But it's Chelsea Football Club. We've always got something to look forward to, you know. It's still going to be a big atmosphere today. We're playing Liverpool. 3 points will mean quite a lot. But then we also have the Champions League. We've got so many things that we've been aiming at. I've been you know, I've prophesized this for a while now. I do think we somehow do it in the Champions League. But I think there's still a way to do it, providing we get 3 points here to maybe even creep back towards the top 4.
It's definitely doable, and again, it's a football club that you can never write off. You can never count out, because Chelsea do things that other clubs can't dream of doing, you know. And with the team bus has just gone in a couple of moments ago, and I'm going to go and speak to Zach at Team Arrivals shortly, but that team coach is going to be a little bit different tonight, because if you're a player that perhaps hasn't had as many minutes as you'd like, or perhaps a player that has understood maybe they've not been at their very, very best or the peak of their powers, you're now looking at it thinking, okay, I've got almost like a clean slate that begins tonight. And like you keep mentioning, Champions League's a big one. If you have a bad season and win the Champions League, or if you have a bad season and even make it to a semi-final of a Champions League, I tell you what, there's a lot of teams out there that would take a bad season if that's what that means for them.
Well, we've done it before. We finished 6th and then won the Champions League, and because of it, we were in the Champions League the following year. We don't do it the conventional way, and the players will know the history of this club. I know there's you know, it's a big squad, a lot of new players. Everybody will be wanting more game time, because it is as ruthless as it is at the moment. You know, if you're not absolutely setting things alight, there's a chance that somebody can come in and take your place, just due to, you know, the size of the squad and the minutes needed, and you know, having to keep all the players happy. So it is a clean slate. I think the current situation means that everybody has to start again. You know, in many ways, you're not afforded you know, the opportunity just off reputation. Whoever comes in is going to want to have a fresh look, and there's plenty of players out on loan that will come back and believe they've got a fresh start as well. So it's always exciting. There's always something new to think about, and again, we have to work out what's next for Chelsea.
This is also a football club that does its best work at the business end of tournaments. You know, this is a team that we've had periods before we've not been at our very best, but again, when you've got 10, 15 games to go, you look at this football club, you look at the dressing room, you look at teams around Europe that will be looking at Chelsea and going, they're still in amongst it, and especially the Champions League. We will keep talking about the Champions League, because again, that's the biggest prize on offer in European football. The Premier League and the Champions League are the two that stand out. We're still in the mix for the Champions League. Yeah. In a week's time, we could be talking ahead of a Real Madrid game where all of a sudden, like you said, two very important games against Liverpool and Wolves have gone your way, or perhaps, you know, you see progression, you understand that the lay of the land can be very, very different. But in 10 or 12 days' time, we could be talking about Chelsea having almost 1 foot in the semi-final of a Champions League, and then beginning a new process under new dealership, which again is strange to have at this point of the season, but also very enticing for players within that squad to go, I've got another one here, let's give it a go and see what we can kind of come up with.
And it wouldn't be a shock. I don't think anybody would be shocked if all of a sudden we just started beating teams out of nowhere, because I think we've been hard done by. I don't think we've had the rub of the green, and in a lot of performances, you know, we're getting old man and we're getting sucker punched a little bit. We're dominating games and then, you know, losing in final minutes of a game and stuff like that. So it can't go on forever, you know. When winning doesn't last forever, but losing and dropping points doesn't last forever also. So I am as excited as everybody is. I mean, we're here. We can see the atmosphere. People aren't down in the dumps. There is like almost, we do this every few months, but there's almost like a new dawn again, and we're thinking, all right, what's next? Because we know that we're only ever losing and dropping points for so long, and we'll be back on top of the world in no time. Maybe even in the next few weeks. Well,
I think that's the thing, isn't it? Because this football club finds a way. This football club finds a way to make things happen when people don't think things can happen, you know. And again, we will keep coming back to it, and I'm sure over the next 5 or 6 weeks we talk about this narrative continuously. 2012, we weren't the best team in Europe, we win the Champions League. 2021, we weren't the best team in Europe, we win the Champions League. At the moment, there's nobody, not even the most ardent Chelsea fan, that could say we're the best team in Europe. But I tell you what, it wouldn't surprise anyone if we go and do it. Now, there'll be teams in the last 4 or 5 of the Champions League at the moment, Manchester City being one of them, by the way, that don't know how to get over the line. How important is that, to have a squad with players that know how to get over the line when perhaps things aren't going that way, but to say, do you know what, dig in, let's stick together and we can make something happen?
I think it's everything, especially in you know, cup competitions. It's absolutely everything. There's a reason, I won't name any clubs, but there's a reason that they don't win much and we do. And it's down to pedigree. It's down to having, you know, the experience and the know-how to just make it happen when it happens. And this is a club that's clutch. Yeah. We are very clutch, you know, regardless of what people say, our ups and downs. It is, you know, it's a bit of a roller coaster, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
I didn't preempt it at all, but at the end of the show on Saturday, we said there's never a dull day being a Chelsea fan. There's ups and downs. You've got to be on it for the journey. You've got to be in it together, win or lose. You're a team, you're a family, you're as one. Very much beginning that again this evening. Wherever you are watching in the world tonight, as part of that Chelsea family, get us involved. The Trivago, wherever you go, will be up a little bit later on. So wherever you are watching, use that hashtag. Wherever you go, and you'll get involved in the show, and we'll celebrate that a little bit later on. Always love seeing where you're tuning in from tonight ahead of Chelsea versus Liverpool. It's a massive, massive game in the Premier League, and the coaches are in, so I'm going to go and try and find Zach down by our rivals, and I'll see you in a minute. Dan, you can go pitch side. I'll see you in a sec.
That's it.
Right then, so we made our way down to team arrivals. As you can see, the teams are in. The buses have made their way to Stamford Bridge. They've arrived on the blue carpet. As is the brilliant Zach Jellop. How are you, mate?
Very well, mate. Thank you. Very, very well. Yeah, nice day for it. Tuesday, looking forward to it, mate.
Oh, absolutely. Sun's still out, which is nice. Nice we're getting into spring, and you can see they're doing great work as well. The catering's in, which is a big news. Big news. Teams not quite yet, but we will give you that as soon as we've got it, of course, right here on Matchday Live, so stick around for that. Let's talk about tonight's visitors then, Zach, because Chelsea and Liverpool have done battle all over the world in some fine places, in some beautiful settings, and some massive, massive games. Tonight's a little bit different, but it's still Chelsea-Liverpool.
It's weird, really, how throughout the years, like, we've always kind of had similar seasons in a way. We've all both challenged for the title at points, both gone to Champions League matches against each other, and had wins go for both of us. But yeah, this season is, again, very similar. I think both clubs are obviously going through things where they've not maybe quite where their expectations would have been. Liverpool, for sure, would have been talking about Champions League top 4 contenders this season. They've been off it, if we're being honest, especially after spending lots of money in the summer as well, getting in the likes of Darwin Núñez, Cody Gakpo in January. And so, yeah, I think it's going to be interesting today. They've obviously had a few results go not their way. They beat Manchester United as well with that huge scoreline. Everyone thought, oh, they're back, are Liverpool back? They're going to be challenging for the top 4. And very quickly, they lost to Bournemouth. But also, I think that just shows you how strong the Premier League is.
Just chatting to Ben Andrews and Matt Davies-Adams in the press room, we were talking, and we were kind of, all three of us went, this Liverpool team has won 7-0 and 9-0 in the Premier League this year, and we're still talking about both teams going through sort of a transition and a difficult period. That, I suppose, is very similar to what me and Dan said at the start of the show about two teams you can never really write off because they've both got that in them. You know, Liverpool could turn up very well here, and all of a sudden they're firing on all 4 cylinders and, you know, can score 4 or 5. Very much the same can be said for Chelsea, but with the Liverpool players they have in their squad, no matter how wounded they are, they're still an animal.
Look, this is a Liverpool side that have had some great experience over the past few years, winning Premier League titles, winning Champions League titles. OK, they lost Sadio Mane in the summer, but they've still got the likes of Mohamed Salah, they've still got the likes of Roberto Firmino, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Virgil van Dijk. These are guys that we've considered the best in their position just, say, 6 months ago, 8 months ago. It does very quickly. It's funny how quickly football can change, actually, in general, and how opinions can really flip-flop and change straight away after one bad result. But it also goes the other way. Liverpool could have a game here today where they look mightily impressive and people suddenly change, same for Chelsea players. So yeah, it is really interesting. And then we sit there and we forget they've got one of the best managers in the world in Jurgen Klopp, who is so good at making changes at the right moment. Again, OK, things haven't gone exactly to plan for them this season, but they're definitely a side not to take lightly.
Absolutely, and you know, there's a lot of talk about potentially players that are unavailable for Liverpool tonight, which is, you know, difficult. But Liverpool have got the same as Chelsea have got, a very big, a very large, a very capable squad. So, you know, there's rumours and talks about Mohamed Salah not being involved tonight, Virgil van Dijk as well. Again, we haven't got the teams just yet, but we'll have them very soon, so make sure you stick around for that. But that chat is interesting, isn't it? Because granted, there are a lot of teams and a lot of players that are unavailable, but when you've got such big squads like Chelsea and Liverpool have got, even if you count 4 or 5 out, you've already pointed out Darwin Núñez is available, Cody Gakpo is available. You know, they've got very capable, very worthwhile squads that, again, could be anything different tonight.
100%. And if you start from the back line, like, one of the best goalkeepers this season has been Alisson. He's been so impressive, continues to be, and I think really over the past few years he's probably been the best goalkeeper in the world. There's been many situations he's got Liverpool out of, to the point even of having to score goals for them as well to help them get Champions League football. Not very often you say that. And then you can look at the back line, like, it's so, like, the Trent Alexander-Arnold situation of, like, how people will very quickly say maybe he's not quite been at it this season, but this is a guy who still, even in his poorer season, can deliver one of the best set pieces in the world, can deliver one of the best balls into the box in the world. Same with the whole defence in general. Virgil van Dijk is a guy that's considered one of the best centre-backs in the world. Joel Matip, we were sitting there thinking he's a guy that is considered one of the best bargains that they've done. I think one of the real issues Liverpool have faced this year has been the midfield. That's somewhere where you've kind of seen that these guys have been ageing, and that's where someone like Jordan Henderson, who is obviously a Liverpool legend, has maybe kind of struggled slightly this season, and maybe that's why they've needed some of their some other guys to kind of step up. It might not quite work. Again, I mentioned earlier about how they've had similar seasons. They've also been dealing with injuries as well to key players and had moments for it. But wherever they are, like, I think it it wouldn't shock you to see a Jordan Henderson performance where he is very, very impressive on the field and has a fantastic leadership out there. And that's stuff that you really can't buy. That's stuff that you really have to kind of develop by giving him the experience and giving him the chances to do so. But in general, like, I think even when you look at that front line, this is a front line that it can cost, if they put it together, like over 200 million. And when we all get back to it, Mohamed Salah is a guy who can be one of the best players in the world, can make something out of nothing, whether that's creating it himself or scoring a worldie. Like, Liverpool always have dangers, and even it could even be the likes of Núñez. So I was speaking to you off camera. For me, is someone who he may not quite be the finished article yet, but he's definitely someone who I think just has this ability to. I think comes with having pace. I think we kind of saw it with Timo Werner at times, where the game might not be going the way he wants, but it's so hard to track him. It's so hard to know where he is, and like he'll get a chance to get an opportunity from somewhere. It's like kind of like this chaotic nature in his play, but makes him so dangerous because you can't predict it.
Completely right, completely right. And I think that unpredictability is probably a word that's gone hand in hand with both Chelsea and Liverpool this season, because unpredictability of, like you said, on their day, you're still talking about two powerhouses in world football. Yeah. Two teams that are very, very capable of doing something special, regardless of the occasion, regardless of the event, regardless of the situation. And tonight is one of those. I'm just going to step back a little bit. They've picked the blue carpet up. I'm afraid you are important, pal, but we're clearly not that important for the blue carpet. It is important to remember that, and I think that's why there's a lot of intrigue and a lot of sort of curious eyes this evening, because it's so difficult, and I can't ever remember it, where you go into a game like tonight, Chelsea-Liverpool, and you can't really predict what it's going to be like. You know, last year we were at the Carabao Cup final last year. You know, and one of the best 0-0s I think we've ever seen. Like an incredible game of football. But you knew on that day it was going to be close. Tonight, it could be close, or it could be the absolute opposite. One team could blow the other team out of the water, because we've seen Liverpool and Chelsea both be involved in games like that this season.
Yeah, you are right. There is that unpredictability nature to it. But this is the Premier League as well. Like, I kind of feel like you have that with every single game you take part in. It's so hard to call. It's so hard to, like, not to step away from Chelsea and Liverpool, but Arsenal, this instance, nobody at the beginning of the season would have been expecting them to be where they are. But that's just how things can work out. That's how seasons work out. It feels like a long time ago that we were sitting here at the beginning first game of the season. How things have changed. It feels even longer, as you mentioned about that Carabao Cup final. Not too different the teams, but you look at how things can quickly change, and how momentum and how like confidence can be so key to this stuff. I think this game in particular today is so much about who has the first strong 15 minutes. If you have a strong 15 minutes, make the other team worried that, oh my God, we've not got the ball here, we've lost possession, okay, we've given up a few chances here. Like, that can really be something that goes that can go a long way for Chelsea.
Absolutely right. I think it is going to be key, and we are no doubt getting excited ahead of kick-off. There's quite a lot of people that are turning up with sort of a renewed optimism, and I think that's to do with the sunshine, to be fair, and the fact Chelsea-Liverpool is always a big draw. It's always going to be a big game. Team news is obviously imminent, so make sure you stick around on Matchday Live. Myself and Zach are going to go and join Dan pitch side, so we're going to head over there. Right now, though, let's head up to the gantry, and the brilliant Ben Andrews and Jason Cundy. Good evening, boys.
Good evening.
Good evening, gents. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our lofty perch up here at the top of the East Stand. We've got an hour to go until kick-off or thereabouts. Team news coming any second now. And, well, here we go again, Jason. It's a situation we know well, so no one's panicking.
No, I mean, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Benjamin. Yes, we've been here many times before. Not quite like this, though. This has been a very traumatic 12 months. I think when we look back in 20, 30 years' time, we look back at the last 12 months of what's happened to this football club. It's unprecedented what's happened, and I think we're still feeling the ripple effects of what happened when Putin went into the Ukraine. Roman was sanctioned. I think we're all still feeling it, Ben. I think that's, and I think it's hard to turn a club the size of Chelsea around and turn a different direction the way they wanted to, is the way they tried to so quickly. And, you know, there's plenty of time left. There's loads of time left. But yes, so there's, again, another new manager.
Yep, for tonight, though, it is Bruno, the Brighton legend as a player, and obviously something of an unknown, and he's told everybody that this is all rather new to him, and we'll be getting his team selection any second now. But we do have here a meeting of two big boys, really, who are so used to being right at the top, challenging for the top four, maybe challenging for the title, certainly challenging for the cups, and that's not happening.
Last year.
Yeah, as I recall, there were a couple of cup finals last year. That's the other funny thing, though. They've both sort of having a dip season at the same time. And inseparable in so many ways. It's been, well, it was 4 draws last year, wasn't it, folks? And a 0-0 already in the league at Anfield this season. In fact, I'm going to talk about Liverpool more in a minute, but Chelsea right now, because the team news is in. And the news is 2 changes. Kerr in goal. Fofana is back at the back. That's one of the changes. So he's in for Ruben Loftus-Cheek. That means Reece James can be right wing back again. It's Koulibaly and Cucurella, which might raise a few eyebrows. Badiashile is on the bench. Ben Chilwell, brilliant against Villa, keeps his place left wing back. 3 in midfield. Jason's going to talk about that, aren't you, Jason? Look at that. Kanté, Kovacic and Enzo. So Mudryk out for N'Golo, and Kai Havertz and Joao Felix as the attacking 2. Your thoughts on that, with, in theory, an attacking player out and N'Golo in? Yeah. I should just say, N'Golo's 4th appearance tonight of the season under 3 different coaches. That's got to be some sort of record, right?
Yes, I did see that. That was one of those anomalies that football throws up every now and then. It's quite remarkable.
So what do we think he's doing, Bruno, with this shape? What do we think?
I see it more of as a 5 in the middle of the park, actually. I see it as more as
one of those 3 gets to go all the time?
Yeah. Well,
anyone or one specific?
My thoughts are that Kovar likes to get forward. Fernandes can. Kanté is a box-to-box midfielder, right? But defensively is brilliant. Any one of those players actually can do equally the same job that's required, depending where they are. I think it's one of those where positionally see where we are.
That's interesting, and Chilwell will get to bomb down there again. I think a lot of people, I heard a couple of people while I was walking up saying, even though he wasn't that great the other day and he missed his chance, they were talking about the obvious thing of someone like Mudryk or Madueke, in fact. They were talking about both of them up against Liverpool's fullbacks who come high. There is a very high line from Liverpool.
There is, but, you know, I was hoping to see a little bit more pace up top, if I'm honest. I thought I might look to exploit that Liverpool high line. Bournemouth did it on a number of occasions a couple of weeks ago. Put balls in behind. It's one of those bend the ball. I mean, Man City done it, you know, but that's slightly different because they're a brilliant side at the moment. But you've got to bend the ball away from the goalkeeper, so the goalkeeper can't come in. Don't any straight balls the keeper picks up and can deal with quite comfortably. It'd be fascinating really to see what Kanté's role is here, because we know how good he is as a player out of possession. In possession, he's not. He has his limitations. He's good, but not as good as Kovar, or even better than Kovar and Kanté is Enzo. So interesting to see how that lays. Is Enzo going to be that quarterback a little bit? Is it going to be like a slightly ease deeper, Kovar and Kanté a little bit further forward to go and be a press? And there's a number of situations here that I'm looking at that could be until the game kicks off and we see exactly what the lineup is. But Kanté, if you remember the way that Sarri played Kanté, right? How he used him as a player that was high in the high press and win the ball, because there's no one better I've ever seen in world football than winning the ball back in any area in the midfield. Maybe there's a little bit of that, you know. Maybe there's putting that Liverpool under them. Maybe let's wait and see.
Going and putting pressure on the likes of Henderson or even Van Dijk when they're coming out. They've got N'Golo going at them. Let's talk about our 3 points for 3 points tonight. And first up, we know it was very muted here by the end of the Villa game. Of course it was. But let's get this crowd involved. And I mean, I suppose, Jason, it's not sort of West Brom on a Saturday 12:30 kickoff. It's Liverpool evening kickoff. So in a way, you couldn't have anything more for a big bounce, could you?
No, you couldn't.
So let's get them engaged.
Yeah, and look, these are the games that you look at on the fixture list. You look at. I know this one was rearranged. This was when the Queen sadly passed away, so this is rearranged from October.
It was supposed to be Graham Potter's first game in charge.
Wowzers.
Yeah.
Wowzers. There you go, right? So this is a game that we all look for. There has been huge rivalry, whether it be domestic or whether it be European. There's no love lost between these two clubs. Ironically, this is a conference European conference playoff place, which is bizarre when you think about the two teams met in 2 finals. They got to the final of the Champions League. They took City as close as they could. We got to the quarterfinals of the Champions League. They only played 3 more games than us, Liverpool, last season.
Both should have beaten Real Madrid, frankly, with a toss of a coin, a Marcos Alonso handball or a Thibaut Courtois worldie. I mean, either of these sides could have won the Champions League last time.
So just going back to that point,
yes.
Yeah, this crowd now, it was a split between whether people wanted Potter in and Potter out. It was split heavily in Potter out. That my experience, right? I think there may be a little bit of energy around this ground today. I think this is a good time to go into this on the back of a change. Liverpool, when Klopp, he spoke, didn't he, about how he's still in a position. You know, he's dodged some bullets himself, by the way, at the minute.
He is the third longest serving boss currently in the 92. He's the fourth longest serving Premier League boss ever. Quite a contrast in that regard between Chelsea and Liverpool tonight. Let's talk about shooting, Jason. Our second point here. 27 shots against Aston Villa and not a goal. Dortmund away, I think of that as well. Somehow didn't score. That bloke made about 17 saves. What's that about? Turning chances into goals. What is that about? And we're not just saying Mudryk one-on-one or João Felix being a gnat's hair offside. I mean, is there an answer to that? I mean, that's probably a stupid question to ask you, because if you knew the answer, you'd be managing Chelsea tonight, not Bruno.
No, but I think we go back, if you want to really dip into it, it's a little bit about how Potter actually has been a little bit unlucky, because there have been games we've dominated and not scored, and had there been a number 9, had there been someone that can put the ball in the back of the net, maybe you can look at certain games and say, would have won that, would have won that, would have won that, and we might be actually sitting in quite a nice position.
That's all it takes, 3 or 4 of those. It's not 10 or 11. Right. 3 or 4 of them, and then you're in the battle for 4.
But we have been wasteful, Ben. We are incredibly wasteful. And the Mudryk one, really, I think that told us a little bit about where we are as a club right now and where Mudryk is as a player. I said to you, he snatched at that on the edge of the box, couldn't have a couple of touches. But it's not just that, Ben. There have been so many games and turning points in games where you know, should and could we have done better. We got to do better, and that hasn't improved. And if I look back over Potter's reign at Brighton,
and in fairness, Tuchel's before Potter here, it was a lot of 1-0 wins.
Yes.
It was built on defence, not goals.
Yeah, and there's something to be said about the recruitment, about the Aubameyang signing and Lukaku coming in for 90-odd million and going out on loan. There's a lot to be said for that. But ultimately, Ben, it's a very simple game, football. It's about what you do in both boxes. Defend well in that box and do better than the defending side in that box, and you're actually a very good team.
There speaks a future Chelsea manager. Final point, specific to the simple things, Jason. We know Liverpool always play a high line. We have watched these games. I know all of last season's were draws and this. It is 5 in a row, including those cup finals. But getting in behind them is something that Lampard's team did, Tuchel's team did, and Potter's team did, because they do have a high line. So let's find those runners. We were complaining a lot in terms of this point 3 here, Jason. Ben Chilwell, and before him, Mudryk, they were making those runs into a bit of space for Villa. They'll get even more than that tonight against Liverpool. And you might well be talking about between Van Dijk and Trent Alexander-Arnold. Play that ball earlier. Find those runners. Can we go for that killer ball a little sooner?
Yes, but also, Ben, sometimes there's grass in behind, and just putting a ball in beyond and getting Trent running one way, get Robinson running the other, getting them heading back towards their own goal. What can they do with that? Then you're playing in their final third. The chance... I
don't think we do it enough, Jason, against anyone, but Liverpool would be a prime oppo to do it against.
Ben, we don't do this enough, and we try to play the perfect game a little bit. And maybe Potter will look back in his reign and think, could I perhaps put the ball in? The ball that Jorginho did, the Southampton away where Tammy scored. That ball where it's laid back, and as the ball's laid back, that's the trigger for the centre forward to see the ball, and he goes, I'm on my bike. And because he makes his run based on the pass back, it's almost impossible to catch offside. We don't play those passes, Ben. We don't do them. We're not progressive enough. Everything's in front of their back 4 or 5, whatever it is. Everything's playing in front. The pass that was, I think it was Cover put Mudryk in. That run where he makes a run, he comes in beyond the fullback and makes a lovely run between the centre half and the fullback. And he's in on goal. But that's just one pass. You and I were spotting the Ben. In the end, it was quite
frustrating,
wasn't it? To see, and then you'd say,
Ben Chilwell kept doing it.
There's another one. When you watch it, so the brilliant vantage point that we have, when you watch them, you see them, all it takes is a player of Enzo's quality to lend a ball in. It's not got to be perfect. It's not got to be to his feet. Put it into an area and away from the goalkeeper, bend it away from the keeper so he can't get there. I'd like to see us do that. Kanté, right? And I'll be interested to see what his role is with that conversation we just had. Is he going to be the one to break? You've got to break the lines. You've got to go from deep. You can't just spin and turn because you're probably offside. You've got to time your run and go from deep.
and it may well be something that Chelsea use well, depending on how much they look into history. I was talking to somebody, producer Liam, before we came up here tonight, about the COVID match at Anfield when Team Tuchel won 1-0. It was a Mason Mount goal. Timo Werner got in about 15 times. He had a couple ruled out. N'Golo was just chipping balls over the top. They do give you that opportunity because Liverpool play like this, but they don't press like they used to press.
Yeah, and this is not the same back line, let alone the same front three that used to press, of that intensity that would grind you down, and then you had the front three and then the midfield three and the back line would press. So they'd condense the pace. Basically, it's like playing against a team that has so much energy in half a pitch. They dominate the ball, they dominate, and that's what he's done. Now, can't do that, Ben. They simply can't do it. Mane's a big miss, and also you think about the injuries they've had, and you know there's one or two. I think they're ageing legs in midfield. There's a number of reasons why, but it's up to us to capitalise on that, and that's why I'm saying now those balls over the top. It hasn't got to be perfect. Put it in there, get them running back to their own goal.
Trent Alexander-Arnold, Virgil van Dijk next to him, both of them having really wobbly seasons. Maybe Virgil van Dijk hasn't been the same since that Pickford injury, but you feel like they're there for the taking. The other thing about them is they have been a bit hot and cold. I guess how we might have expected Chelsea would have been, actually, with all the new players. Maybe look really good one week, maybe not so good the next. A bit like that. Are they the team that go and smash Newcastle or Man United, or are they the team with this terrible away record that go to Bournemouth and lose, concede 3 at Brighton, 3 at Brentford? I mean, they are topsy-turvy, and it's been that kind of season for both blue and red, actually. So they are your 3 points for 3 points. That is your team news. Bruno's first team sheet is in. Now he can never say again, I've never picked a team before. Back to Joe and Zach.
On commentary duty for us a little bit later on this afternoon, this evening, as we head into it. Pitch side with a brilliant Dan and Zach. Boys, team's out. Let's have a little quick reaction on that then. You've heard what the boys think. Confident, Dan?
As always, yes.
He'll never not be.
It smells like 3 points is coming. I'll be honest, the sun's shining, the weather's better than it's been. There's slight optimism in the crowd. I feel positive. I'm not sure about you, Zach.
Yeah, I do. I think we mentioned beforehand about that attack at Liverpool, and by no means am I saying that it's not strong, but it seemed like they've dropped a few stars, really, and that can only give confidence to you when you see certain players aren't playing. Look, when N'Golo Kanté is back and fit and starting and captain, I'm always going to be much, much more confident. Always.
Makes a massive difference, doesn't it? His first start for 7.5, nearly 8 months. Last one was here at Stamford Bridge against Spurs in August in the 2-2 draw. So, yeah, huge opportunity, huge evening tonight. Boys, let's talk about it, because obviously Bruno Saltor, interim head coach, he's in charge this evening. Obviously, there's a vast array of backroom staff, including Mark Robinson, who's the development coach, who's going to be aiding him this evening. A lot of Chelsea people around it, obviously involved in it. The next few days and weeks, we don't know what that's going to consist of. We don't know what that's going to look like. We know that the process for a new head coach / manager, such whatever you want to call it nowadays, is underway. That search can be extensive. It can take its time. It's important to make sure you get the right job, the right person for the right job. Still a lot to play for this season, which we've already touched, boys. Dan, I'm not going to ask you to speculate too much, because again, we're all Chelsea fans and we don't know either, which is part of the beauty of it, but also part of the process that you go through. So, one name from you who you think would be a good fit here at Chelsea.
Luis Enrique, tried and tested, proven, wins trophies. I'd go with. I wouldn't go with the unknown. I'd go with what I know.
Okay, Zach, yourself.
One of the names that's really stuck out to me is Nagelsmann. I think he plays some really attractive attacking football, and I think with Chelsea's assets that they have at the moment, he'd be a good fit.
Next couple of weeks, next couple of days, the landscape is of course going to change, but we will let you know first when anything's official, as long as you're following the official Chelsea channels at Chelsea FC on social media, chelseafc.com. It's going to be a lot of talk, it's going to be a lot of speculation, but as long as you're following the correct official channels, you will find out first when anything is concrete, done, announced. That's the only place you're going to hear it, right here, so make sure you stick around for that. Right, boys, let's talk a little bit more about Bruno tonight. Big opportunity for him, Dan, of course. Huge test in Liverpool, but with the team sheet that he's named, I think a lot of Chelsea fans, certainly the ones that we've seen and we saw the reaction from Lee Parker's team read, feeling very optimistic for that.
Yeah, I think it's a good team. I think it's a team that, you know, if they're at the races, definitely capable of beating a Liverpool team that's not in form. it looks like a 3-5-2, or it looks like it's 3 in the middle and 3 at the back. So who knows? Who knows? The football's changed so much, but it seems like a game that we want control of. Kanté, Kovacic.
It's a good midfield.
It's a really good midfield. Really good. So I'm optimistic. I'm happy with that team. Honestly, we've got such a good squad that I don't think it really matters who's on. It's a good team, and a team that, if they are on form and it is their day, beats any team in the world.
I was going to say that, Zach, because very, very apparent, very obvious for anyone that's watched football this year. The one big thing they talk about in Liverpool is their midfield is an area, perhaps not of weakness, because you can't have a weakness as a huge club like Liverpool are, but an area that you can get at. But also, Chelsea, one of Chelsea's best performances from my recent memory was away at Real Madrid a few years ago, and we played 3 in the middle. N'Golo Kanté and Mateo Kovacic were 2 of the 3.
I really like the way that midfield is built up, because you've got guys that all 3 of them, and I think it's actually a skill that's underrated for N'Golo Kanté, are great ball carriers, and Kanté's, defensive ability is, when he's on form and he's fit, is the best in the world. The way he can just predict what the opposition is going to do, I don't know if we'll ever see a player be able to do it the same way he has. And then partnered with the passing ability and creative flair that Enzo has. And then when you get someone like Kovacic, who's kind of a mix of both of them, he can kind of be that connector. And that's not to say that Enzo can't do the defensive side. We've seen him do that numerous times. It really excites me. And you mentioned about that Liverpool midfield. That is if I were Jordan Henderson right now, and I see that Chelsea midfield is what I'm up against, you're going to have to do a lot of running, and you're going to have to be on it to make sure no chances are given to the Chelsea.
But also, we've seen Liverpool make a number of changes as well from the weekend's defeat at Manchester City. They'll no doubt be looking for a reaction. Wesley Fofana coming back into the big 3, that's a big thing for Chelsea this season.
Yeah, really, I thought he was good before he got the injury. I think he's been good since he came back. Obviously, Thiago Silva is a big miss, but Wesley Fofana is what a player, you know. Honestly, I can't speak highly enough about him. I think he's a quality centre-back. I think we've been hard done by this season, if I'm honest. You know, we haven't scored as many goals as we would have liked. We've conceded maybe at times where we really would not like to.
Unlucky, we've been unfortunate.
And I think because of it, we've been sucker punched, and it's not really a true reflection on how the team's been performing. I think we've been in control of most games either way.
I completely agree, mate. Completely agree. It's a massive thing that hopefully this evening we'll get the rub of the green. We'll get a little bit of luck. A slice of luck that this Chelsea faithful that are going to be turning up tonight to Stamford Bridge certainly deserve as well. So it's been a very busy last 48 hours for our new interim head coach. Here is Bruno speaking ahead of Liverpool's visit to Stamford Bridge.
Bruno, good afternoon. Crazy 24 hours. Can I just get your reaction about Graham's departure, and also, have you spoken to him?
Yeah, before to start, I just spoke to Graham 5 minutes ago, and he's sending his regards to all of you. And obviously it's been a difficult 24 hours for all of us, for the staff, for the families, and now we just have to deal with the situation.
Given you arrived with Graham to Chelsea, was there any hesitation in your mind about taking on the interim role?
Obviously, Graham, if I'm here right now, it's because Graham and the club, they thought that was the right step. And I'm here just trying to help the club and be the most professional that I can.
Just on the statement that Chelsea released yesterday, it said that Graham would collaborate to facilitate a smooth transition. What does that actually mean?
Probably means that I'm here right now, just trying to keep the process going, and we just trying to collaborate the best that we can. And I think Graham, I think he did an amazing job. Football is a really complex business, and we have to keep going.
Last couple for me, Bruno. What's been the reaction of the players, and how much responsibility do they feel they should take for Graham's departure?
I couldn't see the players yet. We've got an afternoon session planned, and I'm going to see them now. We're going to speak to them, and responsibles is, at the end of the day, is all of us. We are responsibles, and we have to keep it positive, try to focus on tomorrow's game, and that's the energy towards what we're working on.
Just finally, Bruno, have you spoken to the owners, the board members, the sporting directors, and what have they said to you? And are you ready, if needed, to go until the end of the season?
I spoke to them, they've been really supportive, and what I'm focused on is on tomorrow. Train today, tomorrow's game, and after, step by step.
Thank you.
Thank you, Damesh. Moose, Talk Sport.
Hi, Bruno.
Hiya.
So tomorrow, you've been thrown in at the deep end, or is it a case of you having a free opportunity to show Chelsea board, Chelsea fans what you can do?
First of all, it's a sad day. It's a sad day for the staff because Graham and Billy, they live in two top coaches, top people, top human beings, and how I see it is I have to be the most professional I can, try to help the players, guide the players towards preparing the game the best we can.
How easy is it to do this on just a game by game basis? I mean, you say that you haven't spoken to the board about doing it till the end of the season. I mean, it's pretty big games coming up tomorrow, weekend, and then obviously Madrid next week.
I think it's really important to focus just day by day, how much we can affect every day, what we can control. And what we can control is how we train today, how we play tomorrow, and after we see how it goes.
You say you haven't spoken to the players yet. What do you expect their reaction will be?
They will be sad as well because they know of the level of human being that Graham is, and they're going to take responsibility as they've done since day one. It's just expecting, to be next to us and supportive.
And finally, from me, lots of big names are being mentioned already about being the next permanent manager.
Mm-hmm.
You're the man in the hot seat right now. You're the one doing the press conference. I know you're only looking at tomorrow, but would you like the job full time? Is this going to be an audition for you, Bruno?
It's something I can control. Then I'm just focusing on what I can control and going day by day.
Good luck.
Thank you.
John Southall, 5 Live.
Hi, Bruno. Can you just sum up what the last 12 hours, 24 hours have been like for you personally, for your family? I mean, you've been thrown into an unbelievably tough situation here.
I can. I can do it. It's been really difficult at every single level, and especially emotional. Obviously, you have to deal with the press conference. You have to deal with the players. But what's hard, the relationship with Graham and Billy. It's difficult to deal with that. How it affects to the families. As I said, really difficult 12 hours.
It's going to be difficult for your emotions, but then you've also got to deal with the players who presume some will be disappointed and upset. The managers left as well, and you've got to prepare somehow for Liverpool tomorrow. I mean, how are you going to do that?
Seeing it as an opportunity for the players. I think we representing Chelsea, a club with an amazing history, and it's about winning. It's about dominating, and what we need to do is prepare for the game, and preparation helps a lot to performance, and that's what the players need to focus on.
And what will it be like for you? Because you're coming up against one of the best coaches in the world as well, in Jurgen Klopp. Suddenly, you've gone from being a coach here to suddenly being thrust into a home game against Liverpool.
Obviously, pure admiration towards Jurgen. I think I cannot say anything that everyone knows. Obviously, they're going through a tough season as well, but they've got top players. We're expecting a really aggressive game, high intensity, and we need to be ready.
You say you spoke to Graham about 5 minutes ago. Can you share at all what was said there?
No, it's just been really supportive. I think more the call was to say hello to all of you.
Very kind of you. Well, good luck tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, John. Last question in this section today by Charlotte.
Bruno, you've been in coaching for 4 years now since retiring. I mean, how big of a challenge is this for you to take on this role?
Obviously, it's a massive challenge. I've been just 4 years coaching, but I've been 24 years involved in football. Start really early, and I've got a lot of experience in changing rooms, and what I'm trying to do is help players, guide them players, because I've been in those situations before. Then I think I've got as well that feeling that I can help especially young players that probably they've never been in that situation before.
And in terms of Liverpool, I mean, are you looking at the team that lost to Villa on Saturday and thinking you want to make big changes to the lineup formation, or do you want to keep things pretty consistent?
I think I don't have to do or give any clues, to Liverpool. But I think, as you saw the game, I thought we dominated the game. Obviously, as everyone knows, we lost the game. There were a few mistakes, but I think it's overall was a good performance. We had a lot of chances, and we're gonna try to keep as close as we can.
And any team news for tomorrow?
No, same news as last week.
Thank you.
Big opportunity for Bruno tonight. Chelsea under Bruno's stewardship, it needs to be said as well. Zach, let's talk about the job that Bruno's got, because obviously, you know, nobody knows how long this lasts, nobody knows how long the search goes on for, and again, you can't really put a time sort of limit on these things. You've got an excellent coach in Bruno, very highly thought of, not just here, but Premier League wide as well. A lot of people think very, very highly of Bruno. All the talk from Chelsea, from people that we've spoken to and people we know, is how much of a lovely man he is, how much the players respect him and like Bruno. What a big opportunity for him, but huge task tonight. Your first preparation for a game within 24 hours is up against Liverpool.
I mean, what a way to make a name for yourself, eh? What a way to make a name for yourself, to try and beat Liverpool at Stamford Bridge, and I think he's got a good chance of doing so. I really like his team selection. Honestly, I really do. I think it's probably one of the best teams he could have put out. It's interesting. I think he's been able to capitalise on Chelsea's strengths whilst also looking at what Liverpool's weaknesses are. Look, I'm sure it's been a whirlwind couple of days for him. I'm sure he never expected it, but this is football. He knows what happens in football. He's been a professional himself. That's one of the things I've always found so interesting, that he was a defensive player but is now an attacking coach. That I've always found really, really intriguing. And so, yeah, he's got a big job in his hands, and I'm sure, I think when you work in football, like, obviously you don't expect something like this to happen, but when you get an opportunity like this, you've got to jump for it. You've got to take it with both hands. I think he will definitely be doing that.
It's usually, Dan, when this sort of scenario happens at any football club, when it's happened here in the past, you look at the senior players, don't you? Look at the senior players to help sort of steady the ship, to help steer it whilst you're navigating where is next. You know, in the past you look at managerial changes and you've had a dressing room full of your John Terrys, Frank Lampards, you know, Branislav Ivanovic we mentioned a little bit earlier. We saw him arrive. We know Thiago Silva's here tonight, even though he's not available because of injury. N'Golo Kanté back in the squad tonight. Mateo Kovacic. Is it important for a coach who comes in, Bruno being at the moment, to be able to lean on those experienced players to help navigate through the next few weeks?
Yeah, I think that's the first thing you do. You look to the players that have been there the longest, know the club the best, they've experienced this perhaps before. There's not as many here as there used to be. You know, you used to have such a spine of experienced players, and you know, I think the game's changed a little bit. Players are younger now than they were, and because of it, there's less experience. You know, it's actually quite rare that you get a Thiago Silva playing until they're 37, 38 years old. So it is very important because it's still young men, you know, and they need a little bit of guidance. And it's very easy once you lose your head honcho, the gaffer, to feel a little bit, you know, lost and unsure of who to trust and what's going on. At that point, you need to get, you know, the senior players have to get their arms around everyone and almost steady the ship. And I think that is why we'll see Thiago Silva here today. Everyone, pretty sure he's not going to go into a box. He'll probably be in the dressing room. Yeah, I think it's very important that the senior players step up, and you know, for this little period here that we have where we are a little bit unsure who's going to be the manager, they step in and everyone pulls together.
That's what's really important as well, isn't it, Zach? Because the dressing room has got those characters in, so not just for Bruno, but whoever the next coach is, to have an Azpi to lean on, a Thiago Silva, a Mateo Kovacic.
Yeah, 100%. I think there are, in football nowadays, I think we can get really kind of, not obsessed, but you can become quite intrigued over stats, right? And you should do. Personally, I think they're great. But there isn't a stat yet to quantify being a leader and having the experience and having the trust of a fellow player. That you can't quantify. That is just through natural relationships, through your character, through your personality. I do think at Chelsea we are lucky with a few of them. I think that could also just come through comfortability of being at a club for a long time. For someone like Mason Mount, for instance, he's somebody that's obviously been here since a kid. He'll feel like he'll have that. Thiago Silva, you mentioned, is somebody that's been doing that for a long time now, been playing football for a long time. He'll feel like he can have that. And so those kind of people are... Money doesn't buy you that. Money doesn't buy you that. And you have to grow that within. And that can happen when you make it to finals and when you go to Champions League finals in Porto and such. They can create those bonds between a player and the club and the players. And I think today we've got to feel on the pitch like having Kanté back is so big for that. He's experienced everything that a player can experience, from international stage, European to domestic. And so for for someone like him and for some of the others as well, it's a really big thing, really big thing.
How important is it, Dan, as well, that players, especially at this football club, you know, especially recently, Bruno mentioned it, I think, in his presser a little bit earlier on that we saw about 10 minutes ago. The effort and the application has never been in doubt. It's never been in question about Chelsea players. But now you look at it, a player might think the new manager, whoever he is, could be watching tonight.
I'll be honest, I can't hear you. I think it's very important. Whatever you said, I think it's very important. Can you repeat it?
How important is it that players think about potentially the new manager, whoever it could be watching tonight?
Yeah, I think it's very. I do think it's very important. I think players have to know that there is constant competition for their places, regardless of who the manager is. Some players will see this as a new lease of life. Some players who knew they were first on a team sheet perhaps cannot be so complacent or can't afford to be, you know, to think their spot is safe, you know. Who knows what system will come in, who knows what that person likes. And, you know, you can have one flaw in your game, but it could be one that a manager really doesn't want in his team. So it's very important for everyone to pull together, knuckle down. You know, it's healthy competition. You are a team. Of course you want minutes, but you have to put it in. This is where you have to put it in. It's a tough time, nothing we haven't seen before, but it requires everyone to be at the races.
Absolutely right, absolutely right. Right, boys, time for you to be at the races. Shoot past clear. If you haven't seen us do this before, 3 scenarios we will give you. One that you shoot on, so the most likely to happen you will shoot on. One that might happen, might not happen, you'll pass on that one. And the thing that you think definitely won't happen, no chance, you clear that. Okay, so 3 scenarios for you to play along wherever you're watching this evening. The boys are going to play along as well. So these are your 3 scenarios for tonight. 4 total goals or more for Chelsea, or both teams, of course. Chelsea first half goal, or Kepa 3+ saves. Okay, so let's have a little look. So Kepa 3+ saves, Chelsea first half goal, 4 total goals or more. Zach, go on, mate. What are you saying?
Yes. So I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think it could be real. I think basically either way.
It's that unpredictability we said.
Yeah, it really
you want
does.
to say no, but you don't. Do you? You don't know.
Because we're watching 2 teams where we could come out of this game, it's a 1-0 win, or you come out of this game and it's been a 3-2 goals galore. Look, with the way things have been recently, I think Chelsea, we haven't been finding the back of the net that often. And so, do I think it's going to be a game with a total of 4 goals? Probably not. I'll have to say clear on that one. The third one,
Kepa 3+ saves.
Kepa 3+ saves.
Maybe they'd have been busier the Mo Salah, you'd have thought.
Yeah, but look, there's always a substitution that could possibly happen. I think that one will be my pass, and then my shoot.
On Chelsea to score in the first half.
Yes, indeed.
I think I'd probably echo that.
What a shock.
Listen, I just want to agree with everyone. As I said before, we all need to pull together, and because of that, I'm going to agree with Zach.
Starting from here, it'll affect the pitch later on.
To be fair, boys, we are bang on. You know, we've mentioned this already. The last 5 meetings to Chelsea and Liverpool have ended in a draw. I think 3 of the last 5 have been goalless. So there's a lot that could happen tonight, a lot that might not happen.
Or it's building up. It's building up for a big one today.
You never know. If it ends 4-4, no one's going to be shocked. No one is going to be shocked. Quite a lot still to come, of course. We build up to Chelsea versus Liverpool here on Matchday Live. Time now, though, for the warm-up. Wherever we go, Trivago is with us. And now they bring us to Stamford Bridge to follow the warm-up for the Blues for our match against Liverpool. Welcome back. Continue to build up to Chelsea versus Liverpool in the Premier League. Kick-off coming your way, not too far away. 8 o'clock kick-off tonight here at Stamford Bridge. Right, boys, time for trivia, okay? So let's get straight into it. Let's have a look at the question, and again, we'll take any help that we can. So the question today is, how many Chelsea hat-tricks have been scored in this fixture since 1907? How many Chelsea hat-tricks have been scored in this fixture?
A lot of years.
Wow. Well, okay, I'm being told we're being allowed 3 either way.
Okay,
so
anyway, at 3,
that means
it's high. Means it must be higher than we
1907.
Long time.
Did it say
over 100 years?
Or did it just say
Chelsea hat-tricks?
Yes.
Chelsea hat-tricks. Okay. It's an interesting.
And then we got time. We got time to think about it.
Let's have a little think about it.
Right? Put our brains together. I'm sure we'll come up with a good number.
I'm going with I'm just picking a number.
Okay.
What right now? What?
10.
Okay. We'll work on that.
Me and Zach
will work on that.
Think about it anyway. Right. Time to get wherever you go, or if you've been sending your pictures in, wherever you are watching in the world tonight. Thanks to our friends at Trivago. We can see you. We can feel your presence here at Stamford Bridge. So let's have a little look at where you're checking in from. New Orleans. Absolutely love that, Dermot. Mexico City as well. Iceland. So I tell you what, I have no moan about it being cold here tonight then, boys. If we've got people tuning in from Iceland, absolutely no chance.
Well done.
Fantastic work. Keep them coming in using that hashtag wherever you go, thanks to our friends at Trivago. Right then, boys, not too long. The sprinklers are out. We're dry at the moment. Seeing the players going through their paces, anything stand up? In fact, Zach, I'm going to let it behind the curtain a little bit because Dan's had a moment with Cody Gakpo this evening. Dan, care to explain?
Well, I saw a ball rolling over towards me, just close control. Apparently, Cody Gakpo was asking for the ball back.
He was begging for it, right?
I didn't fancy giving it back, I'll be honest. I just wanted to roll it, and apparently I'm in his head.
Zach, he was ready for it, wasn't he?
Look, I'm not sorry to break the charade. I think Dan didn't see him, I'll be honest.
Listen,
didn't want to see him.
Didn't want to see him.
He's 1 from 1 this year with Erling Haaland, so maybe this is his tactic.
Well, he went straight in the dressing room straight after, so who knows? Yeah, as long as we keep him quiet.
Other thing to pick out, and I've seen it countless times in the Premier League. Jurgen Klopp does that thing where he stands right on the touchline, and I always thought that's not going to intimidate you. He's a big old boy. He's a big guy.
We're not even Liverpool players, and he's just like, it's just this. It's like the idea of like, I'm watching you. Like, show me you want this. Like, train as hard as you are going to play. Train as hard as I want you to play. You know what this means. And yeah, it's intimidating. It's really intimidating.
Starting to build here as well, Dan, and the Liverpool players, of course, Liverpool fans travel exceptionally well, give a great reception to their players as they went in. It's almost, I don't want to say it's a second string because it's clearly not, you know, it's still got immense quality. But you look at that bench with Mo Salah, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Andy Robertson on it, no Virgil van Dijk in the squad tonight. Is there maybe an opportunity for them as much as us to say, well, do you know what, it's a squad game, we're big enough, we're good enough, Jurgen, if these boys aren't doing it, we can do it?
Yeah, I think so. You know, both teams have a strong bench. Liverpool, I'm not exactly sure why they've gone with not a second string team, but why they've got so many important players on the bench.
Maybe quick turnaround from Saturday, disappointing defeat, I'm not sure, yeah.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, maybe they don't see much in terms of what they can achieve in the Premier League as well, and they want to give some players a rest. But this is usually a game where you play your best players. Liverpool are obviously not in great form either, so who knows.
But like also as well, like the players they're playing aren't bad. Like they're guys that you still have to be really wary about. I mean, Jota is someone who before his injury, we were all sitting going like, how have they done it again? Sign another player that looks to be really, really impressive. Look, I know it might not look as strong, but I still wouldn't bet against it. Like this is a game where Chelsea need to focus. They need to come together, and if they do, they'll be the winning team.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because there's quite a lot of players for both teams tonight that have an opportunity that perhaps maybe in different circumstances they may not have got. So I suppose there's an added element to it tonight. If you make your name and put in a good performance in a Chelsea-Liverpool game with, you know, the eyes of the world watching, it's on TV as well. So you've got a lot of opportunity now for players. So perhaps in a season where maybe there's not a huge amount left for both teams to go, here's your opportunity, and probably a better one than you'll get for a long time.
100%. This is probably the most opportunity you'll get in both teams, you know. If you put in a good performance, you put in a good shift, you're probably in the running, you're in the manager's mind for the next few games going into this busy period, you know. When is it not a busy period? But the better your performance is now, the better your chance at being available for selection and being picked and starting next week. So the players know that. Every player will know that, you know. You put in a good shift, you're in the running for the next game.
Absolutely, yeah. Big opportunity tonight. As you can hear, the noise is starting to build. We are not too far away from kick-off here at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea versus Liverpool in the Premier League. Commentary coming your way next.